Give it a second. Okay, we're good. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? I'm here with my guest. We're going to be interviewing the creator of Howling Hoods, the Howling Hoods. You want to say something to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for letting me on here.
Yeah, no problem. So happy to get you as our first guest here.
Yeah, I didn't expect honestly to win that raffle, so it was a nice surprise.
Well, I'm glad you won it. Let's start with some questions, and we'll get going to your info dump session.
Alrighty, that sounds delightful.
All right. First question will be: how did you create Howling Hoods?
Uh, well, originally, uh, Howling Hoods was meant to be more of an indie webcomic. That because I was working on a script for a graphic novel at the time, which I was planning on being like my main big project, and it shared some similarities, but I just wanted Howling Hoods to be more of a. I will. Have you? I took inspiration from the layout of Ava's Demon, which is a webcomic. Decided I was
Yeah, I
gonna
remember it.
post that. Yeah, it's really good. I was gonna post that on either make my own website or Webtoons or Tumblr. However, unfortunately, just due to some, personal business issues, like family stuff, my illustrator for the graphic novel I was working on had to drop out, and yeah, it's kind of a rough thing for me. So I just like not in the great mindset. I was just kind of testing the waters one day. I was seeing all these indie animation stuff getting announced and how it was based off comics, and I decided I would turn Howling Hoods into an indie animated pilot. The opening into kind of a more of a short, just establishing the characters. And I went. I think you could see, but I went a little too gun ho with it because I edited all the panels to put it into a storyboard frame. But yeah, then it was the first 5 minutes. I'm like, this is fun, but then I'm like, oh wait, I have to do costs for animations. I have to do costs for backgrounds. I have to do stuff for voice actors, and so luckily I did cash in some favors and find people who were more experienced to help me out as I went along.
I'm glad.
So,
All right. So, a quick introduction. What's your name? What's your story about? And then we'll get to your PowerPoint.
oh, my name is Mike Hegwood. My story is about a duo of huntsmen, the Prince of Wolves and the Red Rider, as they go on episodic adventures as they try to get their new recent crewmate back to her home, the very young Gosling. And along the way, they take odd jobs as they're just trying to pay the bills and try and do the right thing.
I love that. All right, let's get going to your info dump session, your showcase. All right.
Oh yeah.
So let's change this. Okay. And we're here. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, for those of you watching, just get ready. I haven't made a PowerPoint since my first year of college of Carl Jung, so it's not going to be the highest top tier. Yeah, I see these editors on YouTube when they make video essays. I'm like, how do they do that? Oh, there we go. Okay, so I've mentioned this a few times. The duo of John and Rose are huntsmen. What is a huntsman? A huntsman is basically just a contractual mercenary who will take odd jobs in this world. Uh, all the job is usually bounty hunting, uh, as the current government tell us is just overexpanded. It can't just be anything. It could be bodyguarding. It could be delivering a package. It's not a super illustrious job. It's and which is why most even John Rose, who are top tier fighters in their universe, are kind of slumming it right now. And pretty much anyone can become a huntsman if you're just kind of gutsy enough. Kind of like the episode of King of the Hill where Dale wants to become a bounty hunter and takes a 20-minute course.
I see.
It's like you're aware of my credentials and yet you deny me the hunt of a man. Okay, the location is the realm of Haven. Uh, when I was crafting the world of Howling Hood, oh, I'm sorry. When I was crafting the world of Howling Hoods, uh, I took inspiration from how the Greeks originally believe that how the universe was. Well, quote unquote universe. The Greeks believed it was more of like almost like a rusty nesting doll of Earth being its own universe, and then there's another universe over that that's bigger, and another, and another, and another. And this is Haven, which is kind of the middle ground, which is a boiling pot for everything. It's mostly it's inspired by cities of like Chicago and like Los Angeles during the 1930s, as there's a more of a noir feeling towards the series, and so there's a big mix and match of cultures, and not everything blends. Everyone's crowded.
I see. Did you take any inspiration for this environment? Are these drawings your own?
Uh, Actually, I had a really cool friend, Jem, who see this how showed how little of an experience I had in animation before this. Jem and I had worked together on just some fun art stuff, and she drew. She used the style Clip Studio Paint,
Oh,
and which is what most of the animation in Howling Hoods is animated in. I'm like, oh, hey, do you think you could help us with some backgrounds? And I want to say she did like 90% of the shots as we worked on the pilot, which was like maybe like she might have done 120 different environments.
wow.
She's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah. Uh, Also, yeah, the main currency in this is beans in quotations, which is just will basically just become the universal currency of how much it has. It will just adjust itself. But there are different currencies used in this, and as you can see in the top right photo, there's a reference to like rupees from uh, Legend of Zelda and berries from One Piece and stuff from the I forgot what it's called, but it's the currency from Mistborn.
Okay, so like beans, like the vegetable beans.
No, they're called beans. It's more of a
Oh,
slang.
I was.
They look like poker chips.
I gotcha. I was starting to be like, are green beans different kind of currency?
uh, no, it's just so I can have the people who are like heads of the bank or you know high up in the CEOs. They're the literal bean counters.
Oh, I love that. That's pretty
There's a bunch
funny.
of dumb wordplay.
No,
These
that's
are just
fun. That's fun.
excuses to get my dumb jokes out there. Oh yeah, the
Ooh, that is
wild boar
pretty.
is a. Oh yeah, it's I'd say it's probably other than Haven is the most frequent location I would plan for the show to have is a little in between world. It's ruled by a king called the Mantis, who after he escaped fate. So this is a bar that isn't really bound by conventional laws of physics like time and space. And at this bar, it's always 5 o'clock. So the expression is 5 o'clock somewhere. That's referring to the wild boar because it's always the
Wow.
5 o'clock at the wild boar.
Caitlin says, love the backgrounds.
Oh, thank you. Lars also helped me out very much with this. And yeah, actually trying out a new background with another artist I found. But take notice at the oh, sorry, at the bottom right, there are two wanted posters. They're both from webcomics that are currently in the work by two friends of
Oh,
mine. One on the left is called Sentinel Corpse, which is a superhero comic which you can already hear a lot about if you just look it up. And the other is actually by Gem. It's called Happy Go Trigger, which is, even though I'm not going to say anything about it, but you showed me like the first few chapters. It's just really fun, uh, and just like some amazing artwork. It's like Gem at her best. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Got to mention her too. But my friend Sarah actually did the the sign for the wild boar. Yeah. So this is kind of the makings of Howling Hoods. In it, when it came to constructing the characters, I always love stuff like how Neil Gaiman or Guillermo del Toro, whenever they made their own like fairy tales or mythologies, they
Mm-hmm.
would always mix and match from other cultures or like kind of put a twist on the original fairy tale. So here, uh, while every character obviously has a theme, uh, like a very surface level theme, there is more you can delve into it. With John, he's literally the big bad wolf. So he's every big bad wolf from every folklore and every mythology.
Oh, I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah, he's. I think the most obvious one is Fenrir, uh, as you can tell by his golden chains which he wears. But he also, in his childhood, he also spent most of his time in the underworld. So he's also technically Cerberus. He's also a hellhound. It's all of that. And with Rose, while like surface level, uh, well, on the surface level, is obviously very much Red Riding Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Just appearance wise, the inspiration behind her was the equivalent of her parents are Parsma from Hindu like religious beliefs and folklore, and La Madra from Colombian folklore as well,
Oh, I love that.
and obviously very much. So in that, but it's also done away so she can also serve as the daughter of the woodcutter and the like the Axeman and the original Little Red Riding Hood. If you want to get very technical,
Mm-hmm.
on the right is uh, just because I don't want to show the character yet, as we're still kind of in the middle of his design, and but a character I plan to show you up called Therion, who's every demigod who started off as a jackass who wields a club. Because
Gives me like Percy Jackson vibes a little bit.
oh yeah, that's a great story too. But I remember I was researching stuff and just going across different cultures, and it's kind of amazing how there's this almost like mechanical cross of like how these cultures intersect and without even like trying or even like having that much relation, because there's Thor, very much a jackass who wields a magical club, but there's also Sun Wukong, who starts off as very much an antagonist who has a magical stick, but then he has to learn how to be more humble. There's Heracles, obviously. There's Huron from Slavic mythology. And it's just, I wanted to list more, but that would just be this whole screen of just immensely powerful warriors, but they just start off as immature and unwise and very rough. But as both their story and time in our world passes, their image is more softened to be more humble and a bit wiser.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
It's a good trope.
yeah, the Club of Therion has all the club's power. So it can grow, it can dispel illusions, it can shoot elements, it can grant wishes, it can do a lot of stuff.
Perfect.
Okay, for the Howling Hoods, the main Howling Hoods are Rose Hunt and John Viter. Uh, they're a duo of huntsmen who are kind of an unexpected pair, uh, who have been working together for about 10-ish years, given, well, age in this works a bit different, so they're both like around their 90s. John might be a bit older, like I'd say 5 years, but not by a terrible amount. But after both kind of having like say both general abandonment issues, they decide to they eventually paired up together and decide to just make it work as a pair of huntsmen. Uh, so they take odd jobs together, and they also stay in the Wild Boar. John works as a bartender.
Oh.
Rose occasionally works as a waitress. Uh, but it's mostly because they do just genuinely like each other. I'd say they are just kind of figuring stuff out. They'd probably be like around their late 20s or early
Mm.
30s, or like our equivalent age. They're still like young, but mature and adults.
I love that because it's usually like in cartoons they tend to do like younger ages, so it's really nice to see like adults.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I also decided just kind of because original script, they were actually, it's funny you mentioned that they were originally going to be teenagers, and it was going to be a group of four, and then at the end John and Rose get together. But it's like, because this is a complaint I have of a lot of shows and movies,
Hmm.
like why don't you just cut the fat and we can like, have them start in a relationship at the beginning and just see how they
They
handle like
interact.
adult problems.
Yeah. So they're in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That is really cool.
Mhm. Also, just uh, a thing we have to work on is that uh, height wise, John and Rose are not terribly tall. They're both around. Uh, well, it's ironic for John as he's the big bad wolf, but his human form is about like 5'5", maybe 5'6".
Oh my god.
So yeah, which is kind of a commodity. Um, this wasn't kind of an issue I was having. Of John's height did come and go very inconsistently in the pilot animation. But I just decided, like, John can shapeshift. He's just making himself taller and smaller as he
I
pleases.
love that. Space Scoop says, "Who's taller?"
They're about, I think they're the same height, but Rose tends to wear, like, boots with a lot of heel, and she does have
Oh,
a lot of hair.
I love that.
So, yeah, she does look taller. Though, like, yeah, by and by, they're totally the same height.
It's totally a personal question, but does he have short king vibes?
I'd say a bit. He could technically be any size he wants, or he does have his big transformation, and he has his big bad transformation.
Wow.
Yeah, John is kind of almost like Wolverine, just a short, kind of buff, hairy man. Yeah. Oh, and their drink of choice, just for fun. Rose is an apple teeny, and John is just coffee. John does not drink alcohol. Oh yeah, magic and technology. Oh, okay, cool. Uh, Magic and technology in this is a bit more mixed than you would see in traditional fantasy settings. As while you can find a character whose attire is more, say, something that would belong like the 16th century, technology has it's far beyond our normal technology, especially in terms of weapons. And Rose Hunt is especially she's very much a gadgeteer, and so you can get stuff like interdimensional travel or flying cars or say laser guns, but just given certain cultural stuff and traditions, characters are more. You almost find them to be more suited to be like in a steampunkish setting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and magic works in two ways in this. There's natural magic, and there's spells slash learn magic. Natural magic is something you can just do. It's something you're born with. It's a very natural ability. Uh, like for example, a dragon breathing fire. For the most part, that would be natural magic, as that's just something he could do. He doesn't need to summon anything.
Totally, totally.
Yeah, and John he's a good example of natural magic because while he does have spells, which he doesn't. He just he has just an incredible arsenal of natural magic, from shapeshifting, controlling shadows,
Mm-hmm.
different breaths. But he doesn't use it too often.
I believe that in writing, that's called a soft and a hard magic system. So like when it's natural, right, and it just comes like easily, that's like a soft.
And natural magic can also be something very incredibly small.
Yeah.
Like, for example, this this is scrapped for sake of animation time, and just to make it easier on the animators. But originally, Rose's hair was going to go in and out of different flora and plants, depending on her mood, and
Mm-hmm.
that is technically natural magic. She got that from her mother's side,
Cool.
and that's not combat usable, but it is just something that happens.
Great.
And
We have a question from Space Scoop. Would they travel to another dimension just to visit their favorite food place?
uh, I suppose, but traveling's kind of it's a bit hard, just given borders and just current the in-universe political system.
Oh, I see.
Also, John Rose would uh, their favorite food, I imagine, for Rose would be pretty expensive. So, and they're keeping their heads above water. They live at the Wild Boar, like in one of the back rooms. So, yeah, I imagine them just going to a dive bar more often, or like a rundown diner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and spells slash learnt magic is something obviously you learn. Uh, for a lot of the time, it's not as potent as natural magic, and it does have a specific level where most of the spells can be, like, how effective they can be.
Mm-hmm.
However, yeah, it is also implied those who do a lot of learnt magic just have a lot of skill and like finesse with magic in general. Because it's almost like learning a new language to an extent. Like you have to be, yeah, it takes a lot of time and work to dedicate. Rose Hunt, this is the character, the Red Rider. Original drafts of her both on the right, and you can see her original weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Rose, while obviously surface level is very much Red Riding Hood, as previously mentioned, she does take inspiration from two different like folklore and mythology characters. So her real world, well, she's not human. Her real world ethnic equivalent would be Indian and Colombian.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah, and Rose was a lot more hard-strung and determined, and a very competitive person by nature. Of She was raised born in a military group, especially by her father, and she was expected very much to become a soldier. However, then she left to just kind of make it out on her own. So she still carries that like very competitive side towards her of almost like I have to win.
Does it like cause
And
problems with with the relationship?
not terribly, because I'd say the relationship dynamic works because Rose grew up in an environment where she wants to do something to get praised, and
Mm-hmm.
John enjoys being like useful or like praising others and making others feel better.
Oh, I
So it kind of
see.
worked out between them. Rose's fighting style is obviously very much more of a gadgeteer, as she makes most of her weapons and like her outfits usually have a trick towards them. And obviously these are they were changed a bit, but she is still going to wield a picnic basket that also serves as a rocket launcher slash hybrid axe that
Wow.
she uses for combat. And so yeah, it's a nice juxtaposition. Rose can also reach into her cape to pull out other like weaponry and gadgets, mostly hand axes, which have a one-time use. As seen as the pilot, one can like shoot out electricity. Others are like grapple guns. Others can shoot fire or ice or wind. However, Rose's picnic basket shoots out things called seeds, which transform into magical plants that have different uses for combat. She doesn't use her picnic basket slash rocket launcher slash axe too much because it is a heavy duty thing,
Mm-hmm.
and like for the most part, the huntsmans have to pay for the damage they make. So, you know, and yeah, at the bottom there's her more updated character sheet. We kind of simplified it
Mm-hmm.
from having just being strapped gun with knives and weaponry. And we have John Vitor, who is the big bad wolf. John is constantly tired, as his due to like his heritage. If he falls asleep, he has a curse that he will just turn to the big bad wolf,
Mm-hmm.
and just devour realms.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so yeah, he hasn't slept for quite some time. So he's a avid coffee drinker, and originally it was going to be energy drinks, but then we decided coffee would be better. He is very gruff around the surface, kind of hairy. He is like, say, probably the more naturally nurturing of John and Rose for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, of just having a almost a canine sense of loyalty and affection to some people. He does have some dog-ish traits.
Oh, how so?
Well, one obviously like attachment and loyalty to certain people,
Mm.
as well as just kind of a natural liking of kids. Originally, I was planning on giving John a tail, but then we decided to scrap it a bit.
Yeah, that would have been hard to animate too.
Yeah.
We have a question. What if he discovers Monster Energy drink one day?
No, it's probably spit it out. I feel like his taste buds are very sensitive. Yeah, John's equivalent human ethnicity would be uh, Greek and Italian slash Norwegian. It's just given the obvious wolf influences that first came to my mind. As you can see at the bottom left, he has two golden chains on him. Those are just meant as like restrictors, as originally when he was quote unquote a puppy, he grew up uh, in the underworld where he was basically under the care and just watch of the king of the underworld. But eventually, his brother Waz, who became very paranoid of John, as John
Mm-hmm.
was originally like foretold that he would devour Waz, tricked him into putting two chains on John that would, greatly restrict his power.
Mm.
And he can take them off if he needs to, but for the most part, he maintains them on, just also for kind of a sake of shame.
I love the character design though. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I especially like his ears that aren't dog ears; that they're just,
Hair, kinda, yeah.
yeah, their hair. There's Gosling.
They're so cute.
Oh yeah, Gosling is going to be the third main character we plan on introducing in the first episode. Uh, a magic goose from the realm of giants who was originally kidnapped by Jack along with his crew. And other like treasures. Gosling was kidnapped in order to, because as a magic goose, she can create special magic eggs that can grant
Mm.
wishes in theory, like her mother. However, due to her age, she can't really harness it, or it's not even known if she can do it as of yet, as she
I see.
has very little natural magic in her. And so she was just kidnapped to kind of test it on in order to try and get that magic out and see if they could find a way to artificially create magical eggs that will grant them wishes. Uh, However, after being taken in by John, the plot is going to be basically John and Rose are trying to get back to Gosling's mother,
Mm-hmm.
who tends to bounce around a lot and is one of the higher tiers of the godly royalty.
Yeah.
Waz's main wife. Waz is basically just all the Zeuses. He's the Sky King.
So is this like
And
a found family kind of thing?
a bit, yeah. Or outsiders and like social outcasts just find a way to be together.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah.
they said, Space Goop says, I love all this being folklore.
Oh, thank you very much, Space Goof. And obviously, you can tell by Gosling has very small feathers on her.
Hmm.
Yeah, as of current, her hair is kind of a dirty blonde with some brown in it. But if by the time if she's an adult, her hair would very likely become full white, like a traditional goose.
Cool.
I say she probably has more of a connection to John at first, as that's who the person who is first going to come across Gosling.
Hmm.
And yeah, Rose has more of a strict demeanor, which kind of intimidates her. But yeah, she does end up caring very much for both of them. I do plan on just keeping her in these Raggedy Ann clothes.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, Jack Spring and the Wild Willows. Jack Spring is the first like kind of real antagonist threat they go up against in the series that we see. Because they do just go up against a bunch of jobbers in the pilot.
Hmm.
Jack Spring is a crime lord who was originally he was born to a very illustrious aristocrat family who was part of one of the upper crust of the realm. However, he just left because he was just bored. And Jack is obviously on surface level is Jack from Jack the Ripper.
Mm.
However, he is all Jacks from the infamous Jack Tales. So he went to the realm of giants to basically just rob and plunder and rampage, along with his new game, the Wild Willows. And along his way, Jack stole several treasures, which has him now as one of the like top priorities for huntsmen, as
Mm.
like being one of the highest bounties.
Cool.
Yeah. He was also another part of his name and design is Jack Spring of Spring Heel Jack, who was known as I think it was the 18th century, but like Spring Heel Jack was very much an urban legend of Victorian London, similar to Jack the Ripper to a degree, of someone who would like terrorize women in the night. And was known for like his supernatural abilities. Jack is a fighting style wise. I say Jack is a bit more like Rose, as more of a like gadgeteer, and he has his own very special inventions.
Hmm.
However, he does have some more natural magic which he does use, such as he could breathe fire, very similar to the legends of Spring Heel Jack. He does have an ability called Vile Nature, which just worsens the effects of damage in his vicinity.
How tall is Jack?
6'8".
Oh, he's pretty tall.
Yeah, yeah. Heights can range in this,
Fair,
so
fair.
you'll come across a character who's just 10 feet tall, or oh yeah. Jack infamously also he stole magic beans from the giants, from the realm of giants as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not beans like in money, which I get how that could be a bit confusing, but
Yeah.
just actual magic beans, and they're now modified to act more of a steroid when they're ingested to give someone the strength of a giant.
Oh, cool.
So I'd say it would increase like Jack's strength by like 100 fold, just depending on like how many he eats.
I see.
And the Wild Woods is the antagonist group that John Rose very much quickly clash up against. In the middle we have Dr. Toad.
I love that design so much.
Oh, thank you very much. It was there's a double meaning towards it as he is a Dr. Toad. Dr. Toad was also a phrase used back in the old days of Victorian England as someone as like just a medical practitioner. And
Mm.
there are several instances of Dr. Toads becoming quite violent.
Oh, wow.
So I say Dr. Toad is kind of the second. He is very obviously Jack's right hand,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the closest person Jack has to like respecting someone. Of as you know, despite his Victorian era get up, he is very much a super genius biochemist, as he was able to help create the bean steroids and is currently working on extracting magic from Gosling.
I see.
Yeah. On the right, we have Mole, Badger, and Ratty, all based off the Wild Willows characters.
Wow.
And on the left, we actually have Jack's distant cousin, who isn't technically part of the Wild Willows. Jack just strong armed him into being in his gang
Mm-hmm.
after he came back. His name is George Theodore Oliver. Uh, However, he likes to be known as Fat Georgie. He likes to think of himself as he owns a several restaurant chains and slash clubs that will also like sell information and weapons
Mm-hmm.
towards the criminal underworld. And he likes to think of himself as more of a businessman than a criminal. Like kind of thinks he's better above them. But this also means Georgie is very likely to get like just roughed around by the more like psychotic lot like Jack, for example, who shows up and will massacre his club at first before just forcing Georgie to be in his gang. He is based off the no, not Georgie Oliver. He's based off the nursery rhyme of Georgie Porgy, who stuck his finger in his thumb. And there's a
Mm.
double reference. Yeah, his like and it put in a pie and made a girl cry. There's double reference to that as well as his origin of while Georgie's clubs slash restaurants are also while they do sell pie, they are also notorious as they are also whorehouses.
Mm.
However, the original folklore, I believe, was a reference to a guy just having affairs with women and then running off
Mm.
before causing trouble.
I love that you really did your research on it.
Oh yeah, it was a fun thing. Uh, oh, is there no more? Oh, sorry. Looks like that's it for just the info dump.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I guess we can take some questions now if you want.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so last thing someone said in the comments was Short King, referring to Doctor
John.
yeah, no, the doctor, I believe.
Oh, Doctor. Oh, it's funny. The Doctor Toad is actually 5'11".
5'11". Yeah, I don't think they're a Short King in that
So
case.
he's gonna have a lot more threatening once you see a toad that size.
Wow. All right, let's move on to the and I'll ask you some questions. Yeah, so how did you come up with the name?
Oh, actually, originally it was gonna be called Folklords.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I was thinking of like my other graphic novel I was writing. I was going to use that as a term. Uh, but then I was like, well, maybe I'll call it Huntsman Tales. Yeah, but I couldn't figure like I'm like that doesn't sound right either. Like, what should I call this group? And like I thought, oh, they're a pair of huntsmen. Maybe I should give them like a duo name because they are technically a group for hire. Uh, it was actually my friend Dakota. Ooh, glitching out, but
Yeah, my VTuber doesn't want to like close. I'm gonna go back to the setting that we had before the info.
yeah. And my friend Dakota actually came up with the name Howling Hoods as I was just like shooting different like how do I get the theme across of both John and Rose, like both Little Red Riding Hood, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, oh, alliteration that'll probably sell.
It's pretty good for selling a brand name.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hopefully it's something for people to remember.
True. Let's see. Where can we check it out? Someone says.
You can check it out on YouTube, or you can check it out on Newgrounds, or you can check it out on Tumblr, where I also posted it. If you just type in Howling Hoods or Greyworks, Greay Works,
See, what was your experience making this project?
it was a big learning experience for me. uh, because the closest thing I had to like experience in animation was either writing for like some comics, but or like working on a claymation short in
Mm-hmm.
high school, which is it's probably lost to time now. But
Always are.
yeah, but yeah, this it was the first time I worked in a group like say this big,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think I have a much better like headspace in mind for when I tackle more animations in the future, or just directorial stuff because I didn't have stuff like full on designs for the robbers. I didn't have like a background for like say the hostage characters or stuff like that, or I didn't even have like a that much of a layout for the robbery as it was going to be it was originally I mean for the like for the bank because
Mm-hmm.
originally it was going to be more like focus on uh the characters in the foreground while the background's kind of more like kind of like how manga will sometimes just get rid of the background to just focus on two characters fighting.
Oh yeah, I see.
Also, it was just like one of those things of I think if I had the knowledge now, this wouldn't be as stressful. But like, we had issues with like music and like just
Mm.
audio mixing, and I need it better because we also have some issues with editing of like putting it together. Because we put it together and we put it through like Premiere Pro,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason one of it just glitched, and right before I was gonna post it, I stopped it. I had to go back and just like and even put some still frames just to get over that stuff. And you can probably see it. And yeah, it's not like I still don't think it's like perfect, but I do think for a pilot is especially for a first time animation of this scale, it's something I can be proud of.
So, what other indie projects are like you a fan of? Like, how has your experience been in like the indie space so far?
Oh, I've always been a fan of like a lot of like indie animation stuff online, or just the stuff you can do on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like a realization I had like kind of my 20s of like, oh yeah, you can just make stuff and just put like no one can really stop you. Only thing is like copyright and like time and money.
Yeah, that's always the thing.
Yeah. Speaking of copyright, one indie animation I'm a huge fan of is A Fox in Space.
Okay,
I
I think I've heard about it. Yeah.
Matthew, was it Garfield? Matthew Gaffin? Uh, but yeah, it's just it's like a '60s pulp reimagining of Star Fox of just so grounded and just slimy and like a dirty world of. 'Cause I wouldn't call this an issue with indie animation, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd say one of the pros and cons is that like a lot of the creators have so much freedom that they kind of go balls to the wall a bit, like a lot with their humor, and
Mm.
it's great, but some of it's also just not for me. I'm a very like dry person, and I do find it like characters being made so they can seem to be like character being chaotic for X amount of number or for like X minutes or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just like how grounded and like pragmatic and dirty the world of how a Fox in Space feels, and I do think is like also a pro and con of animation of when it comes to both comedy and like just characters presenting themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a lot of writers especially go like, oh, it's a cartoon, we can have the characters be at 100 all the time because they could just act like a cartoon? It's like, yeah, they can act like people. They don't have to look like people as long as like the emotions like kind of resonate and stuff like that, or just because that's something I do have kind of an issue with a lot of modern animation comedy wise. Of like it's so much at first just with the characters that can get a bit much for me. That's also I do acknowledge that as a me problem.
Mm.
That was also something I had to talk because I had some animation friends who are working on Howling Hoods, and I do think this is well, I still really liked Howling Hoods, but like they're like, hey, how about for we add this or we have the I'm like, no, we're not, because they want like stuff like, what if John drinks the coffee but then just keeps on going down his face in the background? Like
I
that's a
see.
like I get that, but it's like that's not something the character would really
Yeah,
do.
like you have
Or
a vision for this. You got like a
yeah,
kind of like a set of rules which the comedy has to like abide by.
yeah, or like this is a very much a me problem. But I'm not a fan of. So I just see it a lot now of characters laughing madly, but their eyes going in different directions.
Oh, I see
It
that a lot.
bothers
Yeah.
me so much specifically. I think that I might be the only person on this planet it bothers because I talk to all my friends about it, and they're like, "You're crazy." Uh, but yeah,
Yeah. Any last questions in the chat? So definitely agree. Somebody says.
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for being our first guest. Right. I really appreciate you coming here and like showing off your comic. Your I mean your indie animation. You have a pilot out, right? Like a
Yes, it is out.
yeah.
I have two technically
Cool.
for this because we had an issue with the audio, just putting it in as I previously mentioned. So I put in an update,
Mm-hmm.
which got like only 200 views.
I feel that. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It's linked in the description, right? In the chat.
yep.
Perfect. Yeah. So you guys can check it out in the chat. We're gonna be doing a lot of these. We're having another one on the 17th, I believe, on the Monday the 17th, and
All
that's gonna
right.
be Night Grim. So that's gonna be exciting as well. I
Make sure
really
you check it
enjoyed
out.
this. I always like I've seen your project around, but I knew nothing about it. So this is really cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I love it when it's one of those things of like people don't get just like how much like saying, "Hey, good job," or like asking questions of like how much that can like motivate a writer,
Definitely. Yeah. No. But
especially
like
someone that says broke as me.
definitely, this was really exciting. Like I really did like all the like folklore and all the details that came into it. So this is like something I'll definitely keep an eye out and just keep like waiting for more. I guess.
Oh yeah, we're kind of in the midst of working on the next episode. We're just kind of running into some like working on some budgeting as well as like just the storyboards.
Mm-hmm.
This might excite some people, but one of the animators who I've worked with, who actually worked on the pilot, I might give like the reins to. He was also an animator for Hit Monkey, the Hulu TV show.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. All
Yeah.
right, thank you for coming.
All right.
Thank you everyone for joining the stream. We'll be doing a lot more. Follow the links in the in the chat, and also the links down below that have the Creator Nation links. Gotta put the whole like and subscribe. This will be uploaded into YouTube. I don't know if I'm gonna make a highlight reel. Maybe I will. We'll see what we kind of put on it. Because everything like takes more effort and stuff like that, right?
Right.
But we'll see about that. And yeah, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining the event.
Yeah, thank you for hosting.
Yeah, it's no problem. I really enjoyed this. It was actually quite fun.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's get to the ending screen.
Alrighty. Do, do, do.